Suffolk. Here preparations are being feverishly rushed to complete the erection of hangars and the levelling of the field for the takeoff from the great London-Melbourne air race on October the 20th. As a matter of fact, the aerodrome has to be ready a week earlier for the reception and accommodation of the machines and their pilots, who are due to report on October the 13th. Mildenhall Aerodrome has been chosen for the takeoff on account of its size and will afterwards become a Royal Air Force station. It is evidence of the interest of the Air Ministry that a service aerodrome has been lent for the purposes of this spectacular contest, which was initiated and sponsored by a public-spirited Australian citizen, Sir Macpherson Robertson.
I have been asked on many occasions if I would ventilate my...
Sir Macpherson Robertson, from his desk in Melbourne, exhibits the prizes and talks about the motives which induced him to originate this project in connection with the Melbourne centenary celebration.
Yet conceived. Well, there are many reasons, but three might suffice. First, to improve and sustain aviation. Secondly, for stimulating the British aeronautical activities. And thirdly, for making Australia more broadly and practically air-minded. Australia's geographical position is a commercial problem, and always has been from a distance standpoint. But it's one that I believe that aviation can and will solve or considerably improve. Incidentally, there are two races, one known as the speed race, the other as the handicap race. Now, in the speed race, the first prize is £10,000 and this gold cup, value £650. The second prize is £1,500. The third prize is £1,000. In the handicap race, the first prize is £2,000, the second prize £1,000. These prizes are sufficiently alluring to have tempted the best brains in aviation to compete, both from the plane builder standpoint and from the point of the pilots. And I hope when the race is ended that I will have the pleasure of presenting this cup to the winner, who may be a Britisher and a British plane.
Now for a glance at the route which the competitors in these speed and handicap races will have to follow before any one of them can call himself the winner. Undoubtedly great risks will be taken in the speed section of the contest, for a short cut over desert or mountain may easily mean the difference between first and second place. The triangles on the map indicate checking points, where landing is optional, and the fast machines will land as seldom as possible. The first compulsory stop is Baghdad, marked by a square, indicating that landing is compulsory. This first stage, being the most familiar, may well be the easiest. The second stage is to Allahabad, marked by another square and about 5,000 miles on the way. Here landing is again compulsory, and to reach it arid deserts and difficult mountains have to be crossed, while the route skirts a country which has always set difficulties in the way of foreign aviation, Persia. After Allahabad, the next control point is Singapore, and the first part of this stage is of course over British India. But where the machines start to veer south to Singapore, they'll begin to fly over vast jungle, where there can be little hope of succor in the event of accident. And they may run into squally weather, so that the pilots will be relieved to sight Singapore. Fourth stage, Singapore to Darwin. The route follows the Dutch East Indies, where interest in the race will probably be very acute, for the Dutch machine is the favorite, and Holland, of course, runs a regular air service from Amsterdam to Batavia. The last part of this stage is the dreaded hop across the Timor Sea to Darwin, 511 miles of shark-infested waters. Fifth stage, we are in Australia, but not home. Northern Australia is in itself a trackless desert territory, and the pilot who takes off first from Darwin may find someone else ahead of him before he lands in Charleville, New South Wales, the last control point. And if any two or more pilots arrive in Charleville about the same time, what a race it's going to be over the Southern Alps to Melbourne and glory, where Movietone will be on hand to greet the winner and send back first pictures of his arrival to the Movietone News Theatre. Now for some of the personalities entered for the race. Prominent among Americans is the holder of the coast-to-coast record, Colonel Roscoe Turner, who, landing after his most recent achievement, has something to say about his plans for the race.
As you know, we are going over to London to participate in the MacRobertson International Race from London to Australia. And this race, of course, is the longest race ever conceived in history. And there will be competitors from practically all nations. And it is our intention, naturally, to uphold the reputation of American aviation. And the planes in this race cannot be racing planes. They must be stock aeroplanes, and that is why we have selected this standard Boeing plane, because of its dependability, its speed, and its durability. Of course, you know, there were 22 American entries in this race to begin with, but it has now dwindled down until there will be very few American planes in this race. And this race was conceived by Sir Macpherson Robertson of Melbourne, Australia, and it will be the greatest race in history. And this is one time when weather will not get any consideration. When we start, we have to keep going.
Colonel Roscoe Turner's co-pilot is Mr. Clyde Pangborn.
From London at 6:30 in the morning of October the 20th. And if all goes well, we hope to bring back the bacon for the United States.
They take off for a test flight in that two-engine standard Boeing plane. In parenthesis, it is regrettable that an accident to his machine has kept out of the race Mr. Wiley Post, here seen trying on his suit for a forthcoming attempt to fly into the stratosphere. Mr. Wiley Post, with his 2 round-the-world records, would surely have been one of the favorites for the Speed Trophy. There is an Irishman in the race, Colonel Fitzmaurice, who poses good-naturedly for Movietone in the rain, aboard the Bremen off Southampton. His Belanca machine, which he has named Irish Swoop, is a new one and was only tested just before he sailed from America, so that neither he nor his fellow pilot, Mr. Eric Watt-Boner, know its capabilities. They have entered for both the speed and the handicap races. Colonel Fitzmaurice will be remembered as one of the 3 men to accomplish the first east-to-west crossing of the Atlantic in 1928. Our British pilots will be flying new machines too, and here is C.W.A. Scott's de Havilland Comet, being christened for him by Mrs. Linton, wife of the Agent General for Victoria.
I claim this bird I have.
Well done.
C.W.A. Scott is, of course, the former record holder for the Australia-England flight. Here are his remarks about the race.
First, and we think that we have the right type of machine for this particular race. Obviously, the race must be set about by a good team and a good machine. And I'm very, very glad to have Tom Campbell Black with me as co-pilot on this race starting in 3 weeks' time.
Jim Mollison and his wife will also be flying a de Havilland Comet, which at the time of printing is not yet completed.
Much a matter of luck as anything else.
Amy Mollison is behoves one who made her name over this very route, has been getting practice by acting as a regular pilot on a cross-channel service.
Yes, I'm doing this flying because I want to get a lot of practice in for this Australian race. You see, as a private pilot, well, I just choose my weather, but as a pilot on Hillman Airlines, just believe me, I've got to go no matter what it is. And that's the best.
The speed section of the contest will probably have most of the limelight, but it is not always the most spectacular achievements which have the greatest consequences. It may well be that the handicap race proves the most beneficial to aviation. In this connection, we cannot omit young Mr. Melrose, who arrived casually from Australia the other day to compete in the handicap race, having beaten the Australia-England flight record in his small Pussmouth.
And I have coming over. It's far too strenuous. I shouldn't leave it to stand for long, as Charles Kingston Smith is leaving Australia in a few days, if he has not already left. And that record will be broken properly, I should imagine.
Mr. Melrose mentions Sir Charles Kingsford Smith.
I'd like to thank you for your kind wishes, Mr. Mayor, and assure you that while the spirit of Anzac is alive, Bill and I'll do our damnedest to put it in the front line.
And a disappointment it is that the greatest aviator in the world today has been frustrated in his intention to take part in a race in which, as an Australian, he is peculiarly interested. Here is the delivery in Sydney of the machine which he had bought especially for the flight. Since this picture was taken, Smithy has had to withdraw. He set out for England hoping to create a new record incidentally, but experienced trouble over Queensland and was compelled to return to Sydney. However, he will probably be heard of again. Now let us ask Commander Perrin, the popular secretary of the Royal Aero Club, to sum up with some words about the flight.
The early hours of Saturday, the 20th of October, at 6:30 a.m. to be exact, the greatest race in the history of aviation will be started from Mildenhall Aerodrome, Suffolk, England to Australia, a distance of 12,000 miles. I'm quite sure that even Sir Macpherson Robertson, when he offered the prizes of £15,000 for these races, hardly realized the commotion he would stir up in aviation circles in nearly every country throughout the world. The work of organizing this race has been colossal, and the largest proportion has necessarily fallen upon the Royal Aero Club, of which I happen to be the unfortunate secretary. The club has, however, received the greatest possible assistance from all governments on the route. This has made our task much easier, and we are now quite satisfied that the arrangements at the 5 controls and 19 checking points are quite satisfactory. Everyone is naturally disappointed that several prominent aviators from all over the world have had to drop out at the last moment, but there is still a large entry fully representative of the greatest pilots of all nations.
And so all seems set for the 0 hour at Mildenhall in a few days' time.